Hi, I'm Kathy Johnson, and welcome to Town Talk. I have with me today a guest that you've seen before on the show. He's Father Russ Carmichael. I'm going to thank Father for being here. Our show today is going to be about, they say you shouldn't speak of politics and religion. Well, today we're going to speak of religion. And so I think it's going to be an interesting show, and I'm going to turn to Father Russ and ask him a question that I haven't ever asked you. I call you Father Russ. I know you as Father. Can you tell us, Father Russ Carmichael, how you came to be Father Russ Carmichael?
Wow, that's a real that's a heavy question. I'm so glad to be on the show
Thank
again
you.
with you.
Thank you.
And I know you're doing such a good job down here and everything. Yeah, a lot of people always, of course, my own viewing audience, most of them know that I've gone from prisoner to priest over a lot of years, and travel road that was multi-religious. The quick, I'll do the quick story. Okay, when I went to prison, I was an atheist. I was born Roman Catholic, brought up Roman Catholic, had problems with the church early on, and I left the Roman tradition, and basically I was atheistic. I studied philosophy as an atheist. I studied my theology as an atheist, and I actually studied it to give a hard time to priests, religious people, and talk about how foolish they were to believe in the fantasies that were written in the Bible. So that my educational background started out in philosophy and religious studies from an real atheistic point of view, and I was very angry at the Catholic Church and the way I was treated. I started my education in a Roman Catholic school, St. Jean's in Newton, Massachusetts, and in the third grade I left the French. We called it the French school. It was my basic education was from French nuns, Sisters of Notre Dame from Canada, and one of them broke my wrist.
Oh, no.
In the third grade.
With the pointer?
No. She slammed me up against the schoolyard. I had to go to the bathroom, and we were all lining up for after recess. And well, I had to go to the bathroom. I was a little kid, needed to go to the bathroom, and I was dancing all around, and I had the and she wouldn't let me go.
Oh,
so
no.
Guess what happened? Nature took her due course. Okay, so she pulled me out of line, called me several names, and she slammed me up against the brick building, and my wrist broke. Well, I pulled away from her and I ran away. And of course, I ran away and I went home. And long story short, my mother got involved. I had a fiery Italian mother that went looking for the nun after I had gone to the doctors and had this broken wrist. But that was and then I went from the French school into public education, and because of being starting in the parochial school, when I went into the public school, I was way ahead of the other children, and I fooled around for several years because I was ahead of kids. So my education started out very iffy, you know, and very interesting. But as I grew, I left church altogether. I didn't like catechism. I didn't like the other church. I didn't like anything. So I rebelled, and I became a serious rebel as far as religion was concerned. Obviously, I went into crime.
Right.
Okay, I had a family. I was very young. I started my family at 16.
Oh, my goodness.
By the time I was 20, I had 21. I had 4 children. Okay, I was seriously not. I graduated Newton High School in Newton, Mass. By the time I got into understanding that I needed more than a high school, education to get by and everything else like that. I didn't want to go to college, so I got involved in crime. I got involved, as we were talking earlier, in the numbers racket,
Right,
and betting and stuff, which now you can play at your local 7-Eleven. Okay.
Boy, times are changing.
Times have changed,
Pretty soon
right.
you'll be able to buy cannabis at the local drugstore. or
Very,
something.
very, very soon. Yeah, that's coming down too. So well, again, unskilled, lots of kids, and unable to make a great living. So I went into crime. I was type of individual that could organize and stuff like
Right.
that. By the time I was 26, I went to state prison on organized crime stuff. While I was in state prison, there was an educational program sponsored by Mrs. Spiegel Catalog Company,
Oh, wow.
who lived in Newton. She knew my mother. She knew people. She was with the Department of Education, and she started the student tutor education program in prison. And I was one of 16 people that were on a specialized program. And our tutors came from the academic community of Boston, MIT, Harvard, Boston
Wow.
University, BC, Brandeis, and Brandeis. Dr. Spiegel was then the head of Nixon's study on crime and violence in the country. So for exchange of our education, we were kind of guinea pigs that were being observed by Dr. Spiegel for the study on crime and violence in the country. So that's kind of, my background in education. Okay, and then I come out and I was with BU for a while and other universities. My religious, while I was in prison, I had a change of heart, a philosophical change. I had children. I was getting up 26 when I guess the brain develops,
Right,
and you start
right.
to realize what you've done.
Your frontal
and
lobes
my frontal lobes get
were
together,
working.
if you will, right? And I said, wait a minute, this. And I was the head of a lot of prisoners in Massachusetts, but the violence lifestyle that I had ended up on, I knew this was not the way to go. I was turning into a very evil, if you would, an evil individual that I didn't like. I had children that were really my saving grace. The only thing I really cared for on the face of this earth were the kids. I tried to get their mother to leave and stuff like that because I was doing time and I was doing crime. Okay, so. But I had a change of heart. And it wasn't an epiphany at that time or anything else like that. It was just I needed a change of philosophy.
Now, Father, usually a lot of people in prison, they become even more hardened or more set in their ways. How is it that some don't and some do?
Well, number one, it's a violent place. I was in a very violent prison, and I was a leader. And usually, I always say the leader of the prison is usually the one who's most scared. Okay, so he gets together with a group that enforces his safety and stuff like that. Okay, and any leader of those type of groups is the one. He may be smarter, he may not be physically stronger, but usually your leader is a person who understands his safety requirements. He or she, okay, requires a safety requirement, and they'll use other people to provide that safety for them and that network of.
There's your organizing skills.
Those organizing skills, my finance and my safety. Okay, I just I saw too much of violence. I had too many friends that had. Well, I was in the gang wars in Boston. 66 people died in that over a foolish girlfriend argument. Those were all over Lyman School kids. I was lucky I didn't go to Lyman School. However, some of my partners were involved in that and were executed, gangland killings. Okay, so I just got to the point. I had kids, and I said, I'm turning into this animal, which I was, and I need another philosophy. My philosophy had been a Machiavellian, clear student. I was a good student of Machiavelli. I mean, and still today, I obviously study organizational skills and stuff like that. Philosophy is a big bent in my education. Okay, so I said, I need to change this. And believe it or not, I had read the Bible at least once because of studies, because of theological studies and the history of this guy, Jesus. So that's the way I considered Jesus, this guy who was a leader, and there's no question about it, one of the greatest leaders ever, and changed the face of our earth and calendars and everything else like that. If people really understand the leadership of what happened, okay, from a desolate little place in Nowheresville with a gang of about 77. Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing when you think of his communication skills and the art of organizing, if you don't think of him in the religious sense as a person.
Exactly right, and I wasn't thinking of Jesus as any god or anything like that. I was again, if my philosophical bent, my religious bent wasn't there. I was looking at Jesus and the biblical structure of what he did, and I said, this guy's a cool guy. Whether you like it or not, the guy's a cool guy, and he does the right thing. So rather than this being this Machiavellian person that everybody's scared of and everything, this Jesus persona I was looking at, this seemed good. And if I can manage to act like this guy and do the things that he did, because I was involved in the prison thing, I was developing programs for prisoners, I was involved in trying to change the environment that I was in, I was doing legal suits and stuff like that. I said, this guy, I like the persona and leadership, and he does all good stuff.
Yes.
Okay, he was doing all good. He'd take care of the poor, you know, the marginalized and everything else like that. And he wasn't a selfish person, okay? So that's basically how I started into looking into the religious following of Christ. I come out of prison. I do 4 years in Walpole. I come out as a major leader. 1,200 prisoners petition different senators in the state, the governor, then Frank Sargent, that I was their representative on the outside before legislative committees and stuff like that. I represented 1,200 Massachusetts prisoners by petition. They petitioned, they did it all themselves, nobody forced them. Senator Jack Bachman was one of my sponsors, he was from Newton. I ended up going to Boston University School of Theology. Okay, they took me in. They took me in as an instructor, not as a student. They took me in
as an instructor
to develop programs for prisoners. So I ended up working. I went to this big community thing they had at Boston University, the School of Theology, big seminar, okay, with all kinds of people invited. I was invited because I was the prison leader and I was on TV and I was suing them and all this stuff. So I went as a prisoner representative to the thing. And what happened is, at the seminar, myself and a Commissioner Van Zandt, he had been out of Texas, but he had been the new commissioner at the moment. We developed a bridge program, an introduction program, right there on the spot. What we needed between him and I, we put together the blueprint of a program that could be started where graduate ministers from Boston University would go in and mentor a prisoner for 1 year, and they would communicate back and forth on a weekly basis, supervised by myself and another convict and a professor from the university. So we developed that program.
Well, that's quite a journey that you're describing of how you came to that point where now you're working to develop programs and that. Hold your thought for a minute because I have one question. When you are in prison and you're there as an atheist and you're there as an organizer and you're protecting yourself, then how do you become Jesus-like?
I didn't become Jesus-like in the prison.
Aha.
I never got galloping religion. See, that's what a lot of people don't understand. I didn't get the galloping religion in the prison. I started the journey and the philosophical study of Jesus there. Then I go outside. Now I'm in the school of all places.
The School of Theology.
Theology. Well, here we go. Now we're into talking Jesus stuff, and I am an atheist, and I'm non-religion.
Now, is this a Catholic?
No, the Boston University.
Boston University. Okay.
Okay. It's Protestant.
Protestant, okay.
Okay. And well, I end up with all the. Well, this is what happened. Well, okay, and they crossed with Boston College too.
Right.
Studies cross, so you do get the Catholic studies. In fact, that's part of what happened to me. I ended up doing classes at BC. Okay, I knew Father Drinan. Okay, Father Drinan, because of my family's tradition, they never got out of the church and stuff like that.
Right.
So I was connected even with that, with priests that I knew and I liked. I mean, I liked Father Drinan. He was an activist. He's my kind of Jesuit. Okay, I liked
the Jesuits. Yes.
I liked the Barragan brothers and stuff like that. So their image affected me. I said, oh, this is the way to go. This is
right.
Because, and I'm doing activist stuff, and I'm at the School of Theology. Well, I got asked to join the Methodist Church by one of the guys that were going to school there, a minister, and he said, you know, he invites me to their church, and nobody had ever invited me to a church, you know, and I said, yeah, okay, as a speaker. I went there as a speaker first, okay, and my grandmother, on the Carmichael side, she was Methodist. And I said, okay, this is cool. I'll go there, and you know, these churchy people like me, and I'm start speaking all over the place, right? So within about a year, okay, the Jesus thing was catching on. Yeah, you know, the Jesus thing was really catching on with me, and I was liking it. Okay, now. I wasn't believing Jesus was a God, okay? I was just believing Jesus was a cool organizer,
right?
And I'm following the kind of stuff, and it was really difficult because there were times when I could have done other stuff in the criminal sector that was conflicting with this new persona that I was developing as a leader. Well. Long story short, I ended up going to the Methodist thing. I ended up speaking, and I ended up joining his church. I ended up going to his church. I didn't join right away. Because I had the kids, I thought it was a good thing. So, of course, I brought all the kids. Okay, the kids had got a traditional education, and the Methodists had a summer camp for kids. So they invited all my kids, and I'm struggling. I'm doing the right thing. I'm still on probation. I'm doing all kinds of activity and organizing, and as all this is going on at the same time, I'm with the American Friends Service Committee Justice Program at the time, so they're really financing and got my stipend that I was getting minimal pay to do all this stuff I was doing. I ended up going to the camp for the summer as an instructor. They hired me as an instructor to be at the camp, and they took my kids. My kids were able to go for nothing to this camp up in Amherst. So we go to the camp, and again, I'm with all these religious Protestant folks that are terrific, and they're all activists, and the camp for the kids, it was wonderful. And I said, this is the way to go. I like this. And I got involved in the church. And then I got asked if I would be a lay minister. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah. Okay. I said, yeah, I like this. And then at a certain point in time, I would be there about 2 years. I was studying theology, and my background was pretty heavy. I had a master's degree by then, 73. I got my master's degree. I was asked if I wanted to be a priest, a minister. Okay, and
in the Methodist Church.
In the Methodist Church, I had been with it, and the bishop was Carroll at the time, and I ended up becoming a Methodist minister and getting ordained in the Methodist tradition.
I see. That
lasted about a year. I went to a big conference. Well, I became the ex-convict minister. Okay. Okay. So I mean, I'm on TV like I am now. Okay. I'm the leader of this big ex-convict community, the convict prisoner, and of course, this was. I wasn't thinking about where maybe they were thinking. I'm this ex-convict priest. Ex-convict minister. They didn't call you.
Yeah, minister.
Minister that. I'll tell you how the priest thing happened.
All right.
Okay, so I say, this is cool. Okay, and I'm kind of happy. I'm a minister in the community. I'm ordained, and I go to this big Methodist meeting that they have, okay, where each church representative from each church of the Methodist goes.
Like a big assembly, like.
Yeah, their conference, Methodist Conference, Southern Conference, that's what it was. So I go to this conference. Now, the guest at the conference was supposed to be one of Cesar Chavez's main guy. I had met Cesar when he had been in Boston, and that's an whole other story. Okay, but Cesar Chavez's second in command was flown out, and he was going to be the main speaker at this conference. And my associate that worked for me, David Collins, went to the airport to pick him up, okay, because he was a biggie, as would be my second in the prison movement that was going on.
Right.
Well, David goes to the airport to pick up Chavez's guy, and both of them get drunk at the airport. They never leave the airport. Okay? So
it sounds like prisoners.
Okay. So these two, I'm at the conference. I'm there as elected person for my church in Lowell, and I'm not there as a speaker. I'm not there as the main speaker. I wasn't invited to be the minister speaker at the conference. I'm one of the participants. I'm there representing my church.
Well, now you're there holding the bag.
That's exactly what happened. They go and they tell the leadership, not the bishop, whoever the leadership of the conference was, okay, well, Collins and the guy are drunk at the airport, and they're not going to make the primetime speaking thing. And their answer to that was, don't worry, we got Carmichael, the ex-convict priest, he'll do. He'll fill in. Well, there goes my feelings and hurt, and I said, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not the convict minister. Okay, I'm here as a representative of my church, a minister, not the ex-convict minister. And I get so insulted, I walk out.
You walked out?
I walked out. I'm walking out, and they're calling Reverend Carmichael over the loudspeaker as I'm getting in my car and leaving the church. Not only the conference, I felt so hurt. The same thing. I can break my wrist when I was a Catholic. Now insult me as a Methodist, right? Forget it. I'm not,
So now it's becoming a little harder to be
Jesus
person.
person,
Yeah.
right? Well, Ah, boy, that I said that was going to end my ministerial career.
But obviously it didn't, Father.
No. 7 months later, I'm in the hospital, Newton Wellesley Hospital. They can't figure out what's wrong with me. I had several times situations where I thought somebody stabbed me, and I collapsed. I lost all my strength and stuff like that. So I had this incident. They put me in the hospital. They got me there 10 days doing studies. Newton Wellesley is you get all Harvard doctors. One of the best hospitals around in Massachusetts, is to this very day. I'm in Newton Wellesley. They're trying to figure out what's wrong with me. Nobody knows what's wrong with me. The place is loaded because at the time I was, again, I was having my 15 minutes of fame with the convict stuff, leader of the prisoners
Sure.
in Massachusetts, all the stuff that was going on around corrections and we had Attica, the riots and everything.
Oh, so
and
it all tied in.
All of it tied in, and I was the top guy in the prison, outspokesperson for prisoners. At the time, okay. Now I'm in the hospital, so now I got the huge amount of followings and advocates from different communities worried about I'm going to die, and basically that's what happened. They said that they had done exploratories and stuff like that. They couldn't figure out what it was, but they thought that. I was told that I'm not going to be around. Well, they take me in, and there's the lymph node glands. There's this thing they take me into scan thing or whatever they're going to do, and they see that there's this growth in there, so they want to do open lung surgery on me. Mm-hmm. And basically. My question was, well, what are you going to do with the open lung surgery? I could tell where this thing was. It was inoperable. You can live with one lung, okay, but the bridge that brings the oxygen in there,
right?
You can forget it. So this is where this thing
was. It was in the bronchus.
It was in the thing that
branches out.
That branches out. That brings in the oxygen and stuff like that. So I said, what good are you going to do? Well, Dr. Laforet had been the surgeon. He said, well, here's what we can do. I can at least be able to tell you about how long you'll have. Okay, I can tell you how long you have, roughly. Okay, and we could really tell what it is if you do it. I said, well, I'm here. I ain't paying for this. He was doing it for nothing.
Oh, all right.
Pro bono, because of who I was.
Oh, already a celebrity.
I'm already Mr. Celebrity, right? And he was a great guy, wonderful, wonderful doctor. And I said, I don't care. I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready to die anyways. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I mean, when they told me.
Now, how old were you about then?
I was. Let me see. I was 26 when I was 32.
Oh my God, you were so young.
I was 32, and I believe I was 32. It was 1974. Okay, it was 1974. So I said, okay, I'll go along with this, and we'll, see what's wrong. And again, when they told me I was going to die, I said, I don't care. That's what got them more upset than anything. I said, you got to be kidding me. You give me a break. I mean, the kind of life I had, that'd give me a break, and I'm ready to go.
Right.
So I go in, and they explain what's going to happen to me and how I'm going to get ready and everything else. I'm going to end up in intensive care and blah, blah, blah. Okay, and this procedure is going to be done in a couple of days, So my my mother and father are devastated. My mother, and I got this Jesus thing up here and all this thing. I'm a happy guy and all that kind of stuff. And okay, Well, long story short, okay, this is when I had my epiphany. I don't know how to explain it, but in the night, I went to sleep, and I woke up, and I did what most people call, I was in the light. Okay, I went to the light, of however they want to say, okay, and I couldn't open my eyes. Light's brighter than this, if you could think of them right in your face.
Oh my God, I'm getting the chills.
Okay, well, there was a voice out, asked me, did I know who it was that was there when I woke up? And I knew instantly who it was. I wasn't afraid or anything else like that, but I said, yeah, it's Jesus. It's the question I always wanted to know. And then he asked me again. I didn't say it loud enough, and I said, Russell, do you know who this is? And I said, yes, Jesus. The second time. Then the voice louder, not from inside, externally, said, do you know who this is? And I said, yeah, this is my Lord Jesus Christ. And then, you know, I was told I was not going to die. Contrary to all the doctors, I was not going to die. I wasn't through. And I got mad. I said, well, I want to go home. You know, I don't care. Yeah, I want to go. I want to die. I don't not want to die. And of course, I want to open my eyes. So I want to open my eyes to get a visual. And I basically was told, well, you can open your eyes, but I knew that if I opened my eyes, my retinas would, I knew I wasn't going to see.
You would be blinded.
I was totally new to all this stuff that's going on in my head, and I'm communicating out here. So, and I can't, outside of the light, I can't see what it is. It was so intense, unbelievably intense. It's probably why I still get red to this day. Okay, I don't know. But, okay, well, I end up in an argument with the Lord.
Really?
And then poof, everything's gone. What it did, though, for me was I knew that I knew that I knew. A question I had all my life. If you're there, why haven't you helped me? What do I need a God if you're not taking care of me? I don't need you. I don't need it. I can go on without, people go on without gods. I didn't need it. I didn't need a God. However, now I knew that I knew. Okay, when I woke, it was my room. I had a private room. Nobody's there now. Right. And I know I'm not dreaming. And I'm told that I'm not gonna die. Okay?
You're gonna make it.
I'm gonna make it. Then I'm not gonna. Well, next day, wake up all night long. And we have my schooling the next day, and stuff like that. Told me what's going to happen. They're gonna operate me on the following day. So that night they're gonna prep me. But before they prep me, my mother and father come in my room, and my father's devastated because they're telling them and my mother, you know, he's inoperable. Mm-hmm. We're only going to know how long he's got to live and stuff like that.
Right.
So my father comes in, and I said, "Don't worry." He said, "What?" He said, "I said I'm not going to die." So my mother he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Jesus."
You said this.
I talked to Jesus last night.
Oh, they said.
My mother went right out of her. You what? I said, yeah. I said, Jesus, I was in the light last night. Jesus came to, she said, well, what she said was, this Jesus freak stuff I'm getting sick of. I said, no. I said, so she went out in the hall. She got all upset. He's dying.
Lost his mind. He's lost his mind.
My father said, what? So I explained to I told my father, look, Dad, I'm telling you, this is exactly what happened. This is what happened. And my father said, and you got in an argument? You got in an argument with God? And I said, hey, it's Jesus, right? He's supposed to be able to communicate like regular, right? I said, what do I know, right? He said, okay. I said, I'm serious. I said, I know. I said, I ain't never going to tell anybody else this.
Well, now our listeners know.
I'm not ever going to say this to anybody else because, they're all going to think I'm crazy, okay? So, long story short, I go into the operation. I have open lung. I have a scar this big on my chest that I was supposed to die.
Mackerel.
And I'm here. Okay, I go into the operation. I come out of the operation, and I'm in the recovery room. Well, anybody who knows in the recovery room, right? You got a light over your face, right in your eyes. There's a light when you wake up, and you get groggy, and it's kind of hard, but you can open your eyes. Well, the first thing the thing says, Russell, waking me up.
Right.
Do you know who this is? I went, yeah, you're going to be all right, okay? You're going to be all right. I said, I know. Voice comes back again. Russell, do you know who this is? I said, of course I know who this is. He says, you're going to be all right. I said, I already know I'm going to be all right. No big deal, right? Third time, he went, Russell, do you know? I said, yeah, it's Dr. LaFerrette. Yeah, I know exactly who you are. I said, I told you I'm going to be all right. If you want to know, go talk to my father. He'll tell you.
Oh my goodness.
All about it, right? Honest to God, this is true.
This is unbelievable.
I go to recovery, intensive care. Oh, my God. I get in intensive care, and, of course, the kind of operation I was at, you're not supposed to sit up. You're supposed to lay down. Whatever they did, there's spinal, all that kind of stuff. Well, I go into recovery at the intensive care, and all of a sudden I can't breathe. I need to stand. I need to sit up, contrary to what I'm supposed to do. So I start to sit up. Well, they went crazy in there, the people who were around there, and they kept pushing me down, and I was having trouble. And the poor nurse jumped across my chest, because at that time I was pretty strong, and I apparently picked her up and threw her off the table. She fell on the floor. I sit up, I get up, and I go crazy. Now they get scared because they do know that I have a background in violence. They're scared. Okay, so now I'm sitting up, and I'm catching my breath. They bring LaFerrette in and everything. You're not supposed to be up. I said, I go through all this stuff, and God tells me I'm not going to die, and you people are trying to kill me.
Is that what you said?
I thought it's truth. They said, leave him alone. Okay, just leave him alone. Because I got tubes and everything. To this day, what was supposed to be I was out of there in 5 days. I was walking the first day after the operation right away, and I was out of there within 5 days. And I healed better than the fastest.
Father, that's an amazing.
So that's where I became the mystic, if you will, the start of my mystic journey with Christ. And really knowing God. I know that I know God. I don't care about Bibles. I don't care about all this theology foolishness or anything. I happen to know that I know. The other way I know is my life, my whole life, and I say it all the time, Jesus is my straitjacket. If you look at my life and where I was, what I did, and where I am today, it's two different people. One led, and I follow Christ. I follow the way, on most all the things. I've had couple of other situations which were not as dramatic, but were clear, mystical. One would call mystical, and so long story short, that was where I knew Christ. That's where I got Christ. That's where That's
So-
how I know that I know.
So, so from an atheist all the way to Jesus, the interesting man, to Jesus God.
Yeah, I had my Pollyann falling off the horse, lightning in the face, blinded by Christ.
On the road to your Damascus.
On the road to Damascus.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And I don't care whether people believe it or not. I'd take a polygraph. Anybody wants to pay for it. Okay. Now, in that, then the struggle really began. I mean, the real struggle began from that point on. It wasn't over for me. Okay,
No, now you're in the hard part. Yeah.
Okay, I can. Okay, and my conversation was, I'm not through. I'm not through paying. Actually, that's exactly what I thought he said. I was not through. So redemption is key to who I am and what I'm about. Okay, I don't care whether people like me. As I talk, I don't care whether you're a senator or you're a representative or you're the president of the United States. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I follow the way the best I can in Christ. And I became, along the way, his priest. I'm not the Pope's priest.
But by the order of Melchizedek.
Well, yeah, that's what most people would say, by the order of Melchizedek,
Right.
However you announce it.
Melchizedek.
But I, in my journey, I was a Pentecostal. I got ordained under the Pentecostals, the holy, God bless you guys, rollers.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I was Pentecostal, and I left the Pentecostals because they wouldn't bring the homeless into their situation. I left them, just like I left the Methodists because they insulted me because they wanted a convict priest, not Bishop Carroll. Bishop Carroll was a wonderful man, but others of that church thought it was cool for them to have a. Okay, I left the Pentecostals in Arizona because they would not support the homeless in what they were doing, and again, the marginalized community was where I belong and what I'm supposed to be doing. I ended up back in the monastery. I was going to be a monk, and I ended up at Holy Trinity Monastery, which is my
Back
home.
to Catholicism?
Back to Catholicism, because I ended up being mentored by Father Lewis, who I met in Arizona, who I brought I brought the David Collins drunk to him to help him with the monastic stuff, who ended up mentoring me and saying, look, you're a minister, once ordained, always ordained. He knew. Well, he knew, okay? And he happened to come from Newton, Mass, where I grew up. And he was out in Arizona, and he was the founder of that monastery out there. He has since passed away. And I had the opportunity, because I had my first marriage annulled because I was a baby, 16. So I had it annulled, and they don't count marriages outside the church. So my other marriages don't mean nothing.
Don't exist.
They don't exist as far as the Romans.
So now you're in the monastery.
I'm in the monastery, and I was under 55, and I had a choice to make if I wanted to become a Roman priest. I had an opportunity to go to Italy and either be a monk and watch monastic stuff, but Father Lewis said I didn't belong there because I was an activist. I was, I was a Berrigan. I was like them, an activist in the community. I didn't belong in a contemplative setting. That just was not where, it was a great time. I fed the animals. I was a saint. Yeah.
You walked around singing the Byzantine chant.
My voice ain't quite good.
Well.
Okay. So he said,
Somehow I think Jesus was more of an activist than he was a monk, but he went out to the desert for a while.
Of course he did.
Yes. Anyway.
And so, I mean, that was my journey.
So now you're left off at the monastery. What happens?
I did I was 3 years at the monastery.
Okay.
Okay, and I just, I'm still an oblate. I'm still connected with them, but I did not take the vows to be a monk, and I didn't take the vows to be a Roman priest. I wasn't gonna. I was too much of an activist. I just was too much of an activist for that kind of situation. So,
Right.
so I kind of went out and led my way. I had my. I actually met. I had already met my fifth wife, okay, and I had met her in Las Vegas, and I ended up having another child that I didn't know about until she was about 7 years old.
Oh, my
Okay.
goodness.
So I ended up reconnecting there, and I ended up, being daddy again, and
And what a journey, Father, because you described yourself as an activist, or they described you as an activist. And how do you balance being an activist, an advocate, a believer in Jesus as God? It's a difficult.
I don't find it difficult. I mean, people say to me, "Oh, look at you! How could you do all these things because you've lived so?" Well, I do it all together. I mean, right now I'm sitting before you. Okay, I started the homeless thing founded the homeless shelter in New London. As a minister, as directed by God. I mean, that was a Jesus program. That wasn't my program. That was His program. I just did what I was supposed to do. Okay, and everything I do now is about Jesus. It's a Jesus program.
It's based on the radical Jesus.
It's based totally on radical Jesus. It's based
which is a wonderful book, by the way.
And again, guess who became my other mentor in my school of theology was John Vincent, okay, who happens to be Methodist again.
Oh,
and
full
he was
circle.
Full circle, and he was president of the Methodists in England, the church in England. I mean, he's biggie, okay, and a huge theologian. And I ended up back in his arms. I went from Father Lewis to him. So my journey, the people who've been beside me and been mentors for me have been wisdom men and some women. There's been a couple of nuns in there that influenced my life, seriously influenced my life and my direction.
Well, and your direction.
And multi-religion. See, I don't see religion anymore. I'm not religious. I really am not religious. I follow a way of Christ, but I understand we're all tied together. We're all one. The whole human race.
Yeah, no, that's right. We are, and so the difficulty is, I guess what you're saying to me, if I'm understanding, is you found a way to be yourself and who you are, and still be a believer in Jesus. And do you at this day believe that He is God?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I use the term Jesus. I communicate because of my upbringing and everything else like that. God, okay, I see God, who we refer to as God the Father, as unknowing.
Right.
Okay, totally unknowing. Totally unknown. I communicate through Jesus, who is His Son.
Right.
Okay, in the sense of, but I'm a son and you're a daughter of God, at the same respect. Okay,
Right.
So Jesus, I use the term Jesus in my communication with God. I could just as soon have used the term Allah or Buddha or any other millions of names that refers to the Creator of all of us.
Right.
And stuff like that, because
Right.
that's who we're ultimately talking about, the Creator of all of this.
Right.
For me, that's
Right.
my theology.
Right.
That's where I'm going after.
And of course, the core of it is to love your neighbor.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're all brothers and sisters.
That's right.
We're all part of the same. See, and scientific. See, I get into the scientific stuff. Well, science says that. Any follower of science who doesn't believe, well, whatever the creation, maybe they call God the Big Bang. I don't care, okay? But if you've got any sense or any intelligence, you understand that we are all tied. Right. We are all tied. Whether your club is the Roman Catholic club or the Greek Orthodox or the Baptist, if that's your club, you follow a certain bunch of rules, all supposedly honoring.
You know, I like this conversation because I had been very involved in politics, small local politics, and I couldn't find a way where my activist side, my advocate side, my political side, my outgoing side could still conform with me being part of an organized church. And finally, on my journey, I said, you know what? This is it. I'm me. And as long as I try to be good to everyone and help and love my brothers and sisters and try to catch myself before I start getting into that bad Machiavellian kind of
foolishness.
That's
what I call it.
Yes,
yeah, right.
Because that usually comes back and bites you right in the dupa there.
You're absolutely right. Now, and the other one before
go ahead. Because we're coming out of time here now.
And you probably want why they call me father.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let's end it with that.
Why they call me father is in the Southwest. It doesn't matter what your denomination is. See, I work with the Hispanic community heavy for 22 years, and that's what they call you.
Father.
They all call you father. You're called father, whether you're a Roman, whether you're a Greek Orthodox, whether you're a Methodist, well, okay, and that's why they call me father. And it's too bad I don't have a poem. I have a whole poem about why they call me father. Okay, everybody thinks of the traditional priest, but I am a priest. Okay, the question is, I am a priest. I am Jesus's priest. I'm not anybody else's priest. I'm not the Baptist priest. I'm not the Methodist priest. I'm not the Roman Catholic or Greek Orthodox. I am Jesus's priest, which is, and of course you use the term Melchizedek from the priesthood there. And that's who I am, and that's what I'm about. And of course I would use, if I was challenged by any apostle or anything else, I would use the Paulian argument that, I had my road to Damascus and I've been ordained by the guy. And that I know that I know. Not by any pederast, or not by anybody who was saying, oh, gee whiz, you're part of the club, because I'm not part of their club. I belong to the club of Christ. I belong to the club of God, and I belong to the club of Jesus. Whether I'm Roman Catholic, Orthodox, or it's a Buddhist monk that's religion.
Well, I find it hard that people have a problem forgiving others, and I know that there's been scandals. We have a scandal in Oxford where we have the tax collector and all. People are not very forgiving. They at times. You must have learned something about that through your faith and religion and in prison and all.
Well, you have to learn to forgive yourself before anything else. If you can't forgive yourself, other people aren't going to forgive you. The fact of the matter, to me, forgiveness, I'm not concerned with it. Following my God and knowing that I've done right every day when I walk in the house, when I start up, that I did the best I could following, and I follow Jesus' way. One thing I do about the Bible, I follow the book of Mark, I follow the Radical Jesus booklet that's me, okay? And what does John, which is very hard for me to say, Reverend Vincent would call me a Jesus type. He would not call me an apostle. He talks about folks like me, and there's many people that do the same thing that I do, lead in the same manner, follow the same. They're referred to as Jesus types. We closely emulate Christ as we can traditionally in what we know of how he led his people.
Right.
And that is what you have to do.
Now I'm seeing we have 1 minute.
Oh my God, there you
This
go.
went so fast, Father. And you know, it's funny because a lot of people refer to you as Russ, but once I knew you had a background, to me you would always be Father. And you know I always call you Father.
I know you do.
Because I feel I feel that spirit in you that way. I'm going to say thank you to you for explaining to us why they call me Father. Now I know, and now my audience knows, and I hope they enjoyed this show today. I'm going to say to you, have a good evening and a better tomorrow. I'm signing off from Town Talk, Kathy Johnson. Thank you, Father.
Bless you, thank you.
Bless you, Father.
Thank you very much.
Great show, great show.